Pops, there's a crisis in the car market. Automakers are approving more auto loans than ever before, and they're giving away interest rates that previously were only for the best credit customers. Well, now they're approving them for subprime credit customers. There's something desperate going on in the auto industry.
Well, there's only so many people that will qualify for good credit and qualify for car loans out there, and the pool of those people keeps shrinking. Well, the manufacturers haven't stopped manufacturing, so the availability of units continues to grow. And you have fewer people that would normally qualify. So what do you do in a situation like that? Well, you make it easier for the people who don't qualify to suddenly qualify. You allow people who have shown in the past that they don't have the ability to be able to maintain their credit the way it should be, and you're going to encourage them to get into 60, 70,000, $80,000 loans, and you're going to bury them.
So let's break down what's happening here, Dad. The Wall Street Journal reported that Ford is trying to close the quarter strong, and they are offering previously the interest rates that they would only offer to the highest credit tier customers. Well, they're offering them to pretty much anyone. You got no credit, you got some credit, you got bad credit. Ford's going to give you that subvented lower interest rate on their F-150 trucks to try and boost sales. Well, let's talk about that, Dad. Subvented interest rates means that the captive finance company is underwriting a loss there. The average interest rate on a new car loan is north of 9% right now. So when you see an advertisement on TV for 0%, 0.9%, 1.9%, whatever it is, someone's paying for that. And that's the captive finance company. And they're doing it to try and sell more of those available units, like you mentioned before. Typically, Dad, those subvented interest rates have tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And essentially what the Wall Street Journal has reported on here is that Ford's abolishing the tiers for a moment so that it doesn't matter what your credit history is. You're going to get that best interest rate, so you have a lower monthly payment, and so that Ford can ultimately show that they sold another truck. Why is that a recipe for disaster? And did I miss anything there in my overview of what's going on?
I don't think you missed anything there. And the reason it's a recipe for disaster is, let me take you back to 2006, 2007, 2008, where people who normally would not have qualified for a home mortgage were suddenly all approved for a home mortgage. The old saying is, if you could fog a mirror, you were approved for a loan. If you were breathing, didn't matter what your credit background was, what your income was, they were going to approve you for a mortgage. Now, we know what happened. That triggered the Great Recession. It was just a terrible economic time for the world. Why? Because everybody kind of got greedy and said, let's make money easy to borrow for everyone. We're seeing the same thing play out today in automotive. Now, yes, automotive loans don't come into the same range as what all those mortgages did as far as trillions of dollars. It's not around 14, 15 trillion like those mortgages were. It's more like 1 or 2 trillion. 1 or 2 trillion is a lot of money. Okay. And so even though it's a small percentage based on what we saw during the mortgage crisis, it's a large percentage of auto loans. The house of cards is built on such a lousy foundation that it eventually collapses. And I would imagine we will see the same happen here.
Pops, there's a major issue out there. There are all sorts of people brokering your data, and anyone can buy it. Whether it's your social security number, your home address, what school you went to, all that information and so much more is being sold online to marketers and scammers. That's bad.
Absolutely. And the way to prevent that is to use Delete Me. Delete Me will help take your information away from all those brokers so that they can't sell it to the scammers out there.
Look at you, Pops. You sound like a Delete Me user yourself. I know I use Delete Me, and hundreds of my records have been scraped off of the internet, getting that information out of the hands of those scammers, marketers, and everything in between. We have a special offer for our CarEdge community, 20% off when you sign up with the link joindeleteme.com/CarEdge. Top of the description will be that link, Dad. We both use Delete Me. We enjoy using Delete Me. I like the monthly reports that show me all my data being removed from the internet. We thank Delete Me for sponsoring our channel.
One day you might not even see me here.
Couple dynamics at play right now. One is it's not just Ford. So we need to talk about that. We've heard some rumors that Nissan is doing this as well. And I think Nissan historically has kind of extended their tiers to try and get more and more customers approved for auto loans. And obviously these subvented interest rates as well. So that's another part of the story. There's also on the used car side, Dad, Carvana. Go read their quarterly earnings. You only have to make, how much was it, Dad, per week? Like $100 a week or something like that to get approved for an auto loan from Carvana. So like, that's happening over there. Tricolor, which was another independent car dealership, also recently went bankrupt because they were placing a lot of loans on the used car side. So that's like one other angle of this, which is it's not just Ford with this story. Ford's like the blue oval, so it's a big deal, but it's happening more broadly in the auto industry. And then the other story that I think is worth picking up on, Dad, is we have the highest level of auto loan delinquency rates we've ever seen right now. And that's a direct result of what happened from lending standpoint during the pandemic and post-pandemic. So it's like kind of a really bad mix. We had poor lending practices where the loan to value ratios were 140, 150, 160%, meaning that customers are getting approved for auto loans that were way, way, way out of the money. The car was only worth 10 grand, but you were getting approved for a $15,000 loan because you were rolling in negative equity, you weren't putting any money down, et cetera. And now we're seeing auto loan delinquency rates at sky high levels. So three pieces to this story. There's the Ford component. There's the fact that this is happening to other automakers, captive finance companies, and on the used car side, especially with Carvana. And the creditworthiness of this cohort already is really poor right now because of financial loans that were made back in 2021, 2022.
There's a fourth component.
Let's hear it.
Okay. And the fourth component is the affordability. The affordability crisis. So if you are not going to make affordable vehicles, then you are going to figure out ways to make the unaffordable seem affordable. How do we do that? We extend the loan term from 60 months to 72 to 84 to 96. We know of some cases where there have been 10-year loans for automotive. Okay. The other way to do it is to take people with bad credit who should not be in the new car market because of their credit history and, well, suddenly make new vehicles at $50, $60, $70, $80,000 available to them through subvented interest rates when they have proven in the past they can handle lower credit obligations. So, as you've heard me say a million times, I am not the brightest guy in the world, but it just stands to reason that this can't work long term.
It can work incredibly effectively short term. And why would Ford, for example, be making this decision? It's to win the quarter, it's to win the fiscal year. But long term, when we take what's already happened, which it was a mixture of captive finance companies, independent finance companies, all going beyond what was kind of typical lending practices in terms of loan to value. That happened over the past 3 to 4 years. You now add on top of it these captive finance companies doing what they're doing today. Is the time horizon a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? I think over the course of, 2 to 5 years, there will be a little bit of a pop in this bubble of people who were approved, were paying off their auto loan, and then for whatever reason decided they couldn't for any longer. And ultimately now we have an even bigger spike in repossessed vehicles. That's happening today. What do you think is going to happen on the other side of this when subprime borrowers were getting approved for subvented interest rates that they could never actually afford, but still got approved just to sell the unit? Messy situation.
I think you will see at companies like Ford and Ford Motor Credit, Nissan with Nissan Motor Credit, the phenomenon of what's known as a first payment default. And that is people who got approved for an automobile loan that they should have never been approved for, who won't even make the first payment. Okay. They will default on the first payment. So my suspicion is that the number of low mileage, relatively new vehicles that are repoed is going to go up dramatically due to these first payment defaults that we'll see moving forward.
Now, if you are in the car market, if you are thinking about buying, selling, insuring, protecting your vehicle, go to CarEdge.com. Let us help you, or obviously subscribe here to the channel. But yeah, insane what we're seeing come out of the new car market. And obviously, like I said before, Dad, $100 a week over at Carvana gets you approved for an auto loan. It's not just new cars and Ford. It's also happening on the used car side as well. And it sounds like a recipe for disaster. Thanks, Pops.
Thank you.